It's that time again. Well, not again. I've never done a video like this before, but I don't know why I haven't done a video like this before, because a video like this should be done. We need to talk about, now that it's pretty unlikely that Apple releases any new products in 2024, let's talk about Apple's top 3 wins and top 3 losses of 2024 and why I feel that way, I guess, because this is somewhat subjective. So I'm going in reverse order from, third best win or loss to first best win or loss. You get it. Okay. So number 1 win for Apple product wise in 2024, the iPad Pro M4. And Jason, you might be like, Jason, why the iPad Pro? It's expensive. It isn't a MacBook. It's an iPad. I don't know. I mean, this was the first time that Apple put the brand new chip for the year into the iPad and not MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, something like that. It was the first time that they had done that. And in some ways, it kind of signified that the iPad was an important product to Apple still. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, maybe you felt like it was, maybe you didn't, but the iPad is just always kind of like a weird in-between product. Sometimes it's, Apple kind of loves it. Sometimes Apple doesn't really love it. So I just felt like putting the M4 chip in there, the most powerful chip Apple has ever made, putting it in there and having it be sort of like the torchbearer for the M4 chip was something else. Plus redesign, much thinner, tandem OLED display, super bright, 1,000 nits. They introduced their nano texture display for the first time on a product that wasn't like stupid expensive, like the Studio display or the other one that's like $6,000, right? iPad Pro M4, number 3 on my list of Apple wins for this year. Number 2 on my list for Apple wins, I'm going to have to go with the iPhone 16 line, the 16 Pro, 16 Max, the 16 Plus. I'm going to have to go for that. And maybe it's a punt. I don't know. The iPhone is really good pretty much every year. And this year is no different. There were a few things about it that I thought really improved over the course of the year, and so I'm going to count it here as number 2. Both Pro models have the same specs for the first time. The prices basically stayed the same. I think this was the first year that 256 gigabytes of storage was the base storage on the Pro models. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have it here in front of me. The cameras, like I thought the iPhone 15 Pro Max cameras were really good, and they were. But especially for video this year, the iPhone 16 Pro line, I didn't try the regular 16, so I can't speak to those, but it could very well be the case. I made several videos with my iPhone exclusively. And I'll say this, if I was starting out today and I had no money for a camera, but I wanted to start making good quality videos, nobody would be able to tell the difference if I started with an iPhone, like a newer model iPhone. Just by virtue of that, we used to complain that the iPhone Pros weren't really pro, but now they kind of are. If you've seen the trailer for the new 28 years later, that has been getting a lot of hype because it's filmed on an iPhone or filmed on iPhones plural and giant camera rigs, but that's how they make movies. But yeah, filmed on an iPhone, and saw the trailer the other day. It looks really, really good. So I'm giving place number 2 in terms of wins to the iPhone 16 line in general. Although I do have to say that the colors were a fail, but not a fail enough to make it on my fail list. But the colors were a fail. That's that. So what is my number 1 win for Apple in 2024? It could have been a lot of things, and I'm sure many of you will agree with me. Many of you will probably disagree with me, but it could have been several different things. I think actually it could have been like a couple of things maybe. But my pick for Apple's number one product this year, the best thing that they did all year, is the Mac Mini M4. The M4 Mac Mini, not only did they make it small, so it's really cute, but they put 3 Thunderbolt ports on it, and they put HDMI 2.1 in it. They made a cloth covered cable for it. But all joking aside, for the first time ever, Apple has upped the base RAM on all of their consumer Macs to 16 gigabytes, which is honestly something that I didn't know if they would do. I didn't know if they'd give up that $200 that they would get from everybody. But maybe they saw that people weren't buying Macs because 8 gigabytes of storage is stupid. I don't know. Apple never releases their numbers. So I don't know if, that's the case. But 16 gigabytes makes the M4 Mac Mini much more of a contender for a lot of people at only $599. That's a crazy good value. If you have a screen of any kind, or if you have a keyboard of any kind, a mouse or trackpad or whatever, $599 is getting you a computer that can run just about anything. I mean, honestly, in the tests that I've seen and in my experience using both the M4 MacBook Pro and the M4 Mac Mini, there's nothing holding those machines back from doing not just like the everyday work that people would do on a computer, whether it's, just like light office work or anything like that, but, the ability to do pretty decent amount of video editing, pretty decent amount of music recording, photo editing. You used to have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars in the old days to get a Mac that would, by today's standards, crawl its way through doing some of the things that the M4 Mac Mini at $599 can do without breaking a sweat. The one downside to all these things is that the base storage still remains at 256 gigabytes of storage. And when you figure that the operating system itself is around 20 gigabytes, 20 gigabytes, I believe. And then you'll have like system stuff. You're looking at 200 gigabytes, which isn't very much. If you're buying a Mac that has 256 gigabytes of storage, and they did update the MacBook Airs, both the M3 model and the M2 model, to have 16 gigabytes of storage, you will have to do a lot of what you do on an external drive. And there are some videos that I've seen, and I might do one myself, on how you can actually sort of set up an external drive to be your home drive. There are hard drives out there now that you can plug into a Thunderbolt port that are fast enough to actually run as your system drive. You can do that. 256 gigabytes of storage is not enough. And maybe next year, Apple will give us 512 to start, because 512 is kind of not that great either. But you do have ways of making that work. So those are my 3 main winners for Apple this year: the iPad Pros, the iPhone 16 line, and the Mac Mini. Now, I could extend that out to the MacBook Pro and the other MacBook Pros with the Pro and Max chips, but I think that having a tiny Mac that has the power that the Mac Mini has at a price point like $599 is really paying off the promise of the M series chips when Apple sort of went to them and went away from Intel. The original M1 Mac Mini was a revelation in what it could do, and now, I mean, this one blows that Mac Mini out of the water. We're talking like 4 years later. So those are my top 3 for 2024. What about my top 3 fails for Apple in 2024? Well, let's talk about it. Again, in reverse order. I'm sure this is going to be somewhat controversial, and you can come at me in the comments all you want and tell me why you think that I was wrong about the things that I say Apple failed to launch this year. and we'll have a boisterous discussion. But in reverse order again, my number 3 failure by Apple is the AirPods Max 2024. A lot of people are calling them AirPods Max 2. They are not AirPods Max 2. They're AirPods Max with a USB-C port. And that's it. They didn't change anything in there. They didn't upgrade the chip to the H2 chip. They didn't do anything but give us some different colors and a USB-C port. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is almost criminal at the price that they're charging for these things. You can still get the Lightning version. And honestly, I would recommend finding the Lightning version, because if you want to use a 3.5 millimeter cable, they make one for the Lightning version. They don't make one for the USB-C version for some reason. And, the AirPods Max are not really made to be plugged into things, fine. But if Apple's going to charge $559 for these, and the original AirPods Max are over 4 years old, and they didn't give us anything new, anything that would entice anyone. They didn't make improvements on the design, and there are problems there. They didn't make improvements on the sound signature. There were problems there. They didn't make improvements on the features, because the AirPods Pro have the H2 chip, and they can be hearing aids, and they can do all this other stuff, and Apple didn't bother. They just didn't bother. They said, here you are. You've got some USB-C and some pretty new colors, and you're going to be happy with that. That's just how it is. And I'm not happy, because I don't think it's fair to keep charging people the amount of money they're charging and taking away features and not improving features that definitely need to be improved. Number 2, and this is sort of a wide-ranging, touches almost every Apple product, Apple Intelligence. Apple Intelligence is dumb, okay? Apple Intelligence I know it's not all the way out, and it's coming out in bits and pieces here and there, but what we have so far is pointless. Siri is still, Siri is still as dumb as she ever was. I used to never use Siri, because Siri would say, let me look on the internet for you. She still does it. Siri is still not a good virtual assistant. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is, Siri. We got special glowing around the sides. And yes, we get summarized notifications, and this is the one that makes me the most mad, okay? I'm sure that Apple Intelligence will come up with something that's worthwhile somewhere, sometime. But now you can write emails and say, hey, make me not sound like a moron. Maybe it's just the former writing teacher in me, but I think that people who have jobs where they're sending emails to their bosses or clients or anybody else should have learned how to write professionally, or at least effectively, in school. But no, now we have Apple Intelligence that will allow you to change the tone and fix everything so that you don't sound like a moron. Let me just break it to you gently here. If you can't write, you're still a moron. Okay? That's it. That's all there is to it. If you can't write, you're still a moron. That's just how it is. And yeah, come at me, bro. My number 1, drum roll, please. Boom. My number 1 biggest Apple fail for 2024 is, and I'm sure you've guessed by now, Apple Vision Pro. Apple Vision Pro. Now, if you go back and you look at videos from the end of 2022 going into 2023, I was excited about Apple Vision Pro. I wanted it to be like the next computing thing. I really, really was excited to do it. And I went out and got one. And look, none of this has to do with what kind of a technical achievement Apple Vision Pro is, okay? Because it is. They made an incredibly forward-thinking device that has 0 practical uses. Zero. And you can say like, oh, but I use it all the time to watch movies or whatever. But okay, but it's really not making me say like, oh, that's the only way I want to watch movies. There's no one clamoring for Vision Pro to watch movies on. I know that they're coming up with Vision Pro, like you can watch the NBA on Vision Pro now, and that there is potential for this device. But at $3,500 plus whatever you're going to spend on the moon suit that you can put it in, or whatever else you're going to get, $3,500, we all can agree, is a first world price. It's not even a first world price. It's a 1% price. It's you're not going to revolutionize computing at $3,500. And I don't know if Apple's ever going to be able to get down with that device to where they can do anything with it, because VR, AR, XR, whatever you want to call it, has always been an additive device. Like, you don't need it, but it's cool to have it. And Apple has done nothing with Vision Pro that says, now I need it. After the release, it basically just died on the table. And yes, there were some updates, and I don't really know a lot about what's going on with it now, because I returned mine, and a lot of people returned theirs. And I don't feel bad about it, because $3,500 is a big chunk of change. And it's a big chunk of change for me. It would be a big chunk of change for people who make a lot more money than me. It's just a lot. And when there's no killer app for something like that, it is going to fail. And Vision Pro has no killer app. It has nothing that says this is the way for the future. And we're almost 12 months from launch, and it's dead on the table. And Apple says, oh, we're going to come out with Vision Pro Air, or what do you take away to make it cheaper? I don't know. How do you get to the place where it's a viable product? I don't know. Right now, it's not there. And I don't know what kind of time Apple has, because nobody's talked about Vision Pro for 6 to 8 months, and nobody's going to be talking about Vision Pro in 2025. And that is just the way it is. As much as I thought it was going to be and it is a cool product, cool is not enough at that price point or any other. There must be a killer app, something that is revolutionary. Vision Pro doesn't have it. Fail. And there you go. That's my list. Top 3 wins, top 3 fails for Apple in 2024. I'm sure that you've already started typing away down there your comments to let me know how you feel about all of this. And that is your prerogative. As the great Dr. Robert Brown once said, you can do whatever you want. You can tell me. I can take it. So hit me down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this list, good or bad. What would you have put in its place, etc., etc., etc. If you want to come back for more videos where I talk about Apple and tech and all that kind of stuff, then you hit the subscribe button down below. If you want to come back to troll me, also hit the subscribe button so that you know when I've put out a video and you can get your troll on. Anyway, my name is Jason. Thanks so much for being here. Until the next time, I'm out.